Sometimes a customer is more than just difficult. They're mean, they lie, they demand special treatment, then call it bad service when they don't get that special treatment. They throw insults, threats, and they're sarcastic, or that lovely little phrase I like to throw around. I know the owner. When you know darn well they do not know the owner. And there you are, expected to stay professional while your nervous system is saying, are we really letting people talk to us like that? So what do you do? Do you turn the other cheek? Do you stay kind? Do you set a boundary? Or do you just grit your teeth and hope they go away as soon as possible? Let's talk about the part of customer service that most people are too polite to name. The real problem is this. Most customer service training teaches people how to handle upset customers. But an upset customer and a mean-spirited customer are not always the same thing. An upset customer may be frustrated because something didn't go right. They had an expectation that wasn't clearly met. Something went wrong along the line, and they're upset about not getting the service that they really should have gotten. A mean-spirited customer uses a problem as permission to attack. And if you treat the two customers the same way, employees can get hurt. And to be clear, I am not talking about threats, slurs, sexual comments, or safety concerns. That crosses into abuse, and abuse needs policy backup and a clear exit plan. That's information for another video. But even when their behavior doesn't rise to that level, it still can wear people down. Employees start to wonder, is good service supposed to mean that I could have to take whatever's thrown at me? No. Good service means you stay professional. It does not mean you become somebody else's punching bag. So here's the shift. Empathy is for the person. Boundaries are for the behavior. Empathy is for the customer. Boundaries is for their behavior. That's the distinction. You can care that somebody's upset. You can listen. You can try to solve their problem. And you can still say, you don't get to speak to me that way. Maybe not in those exact words, but that has to be the standard underneath your response, because kindness without boundaries turns into self-abandonment, and boundaries without kindness, eek, that turns into combat. The skill is learning how to hold both. When a customer crosses the line, I'm going to give you a three-part response. Match the urgency, return to the facts, and set the boundary. Let's break that down. So for step one, match the urgency, not the attack. This is where a lot of advice gets pretty sloppy. People say, don't match the customer's energy. But that's not quite right. Skilled customer service people often do match energy. They match urgency, they match concern, they match intensity. That's rapport building. What you don't do is match hostility. So if a customer says, this is ridiculous, you people, you never know what you're doing, we don't respond like a robot. I'm sorry that you feel that way. Um, that may be polite, but it lands as dismissive. Robotic just does not work. And don't snap back with, sir, there's no reason to be rude. That also may be true, but now you've gotten yourself into a battle. Instead, try something more like this. I hear how serious this feels. I'm going to look at what happened and we're going to see what we can do next. The reason that works is because you're matching the seriousness without accepting the insult. Match the seriousness, not the insult. You're not saying they're right. You're not apologizing for something you haven't verified. You're saying, I'm here, I've got this, and I'm moving this forward. That's the definition of composure. Not passive, not fake nice, but you being centered enough to stay in charge of the conversation. Now, step two is to return to the facts. Mean-spirited customers often try to pull you into the mud. They exaggerate, they blame, they rewrite history. They say things like, nobody ever told me that. You always do this for me. Or your employee on the phone promised me. Or I've never had to follow this policy before. You're wrong. And now the trap has been opened because part of you wants to prove them wrong. It's human nature. But don't take the bait. Your job is not to win the argument, it's to bring the conversation back to what can be verified and what can be done. Here's what I can confirm right now. Here's where the policy gives us room, and here's where it doesn't. I can't change that part, but I can look at what options are still available to you. Let's move forward on that. These lines keep you out of the argument. You're not calling them a liar. That never works. You're not accepting a version of the story that may not be true and probably isn't. You're not, what you are doing is you're moving the conversation back to the facts, choices, and next steps. Because the minute you say, that's not true, the conversation often becomes about their ego and amplifies. But when you calmly name what you can confirm and what you can do, the conversation moves back to the issue. That gives you forward momentum. That keeps you out of a fight. So now let's move on to step three. Step three is don't take the bait, draw the line. Don't take the bait, draw the line. When a customer insults you, your first move is not to prove you deserve respect. That turns the conversation into a power struggle. Instead, give one clean redirect. Say something maybe like this. I'm going to stay with the problem we can solve. You're showing that the insult will not control the conversation. The insult will not control the conversation. But if the insult continues, now you name the boundary. I can keep working on the problem. I won't continue if the name calling continues. And if they keep going, because often they will keep going, what do you say next? Maybe something like this. I'm going to pause this conversation now. We can continue when we're able to discuss the issue without name calling. You could say, I'm going to end this phone call right now. I'm going to end this discussion right now. You can put an end to it. Here's the key distinction. One insult may be bait. Repeated name calling is a boundary issue. So don't let that first jab, don't pounce on it, right? The jab, don't pounce on it, and don't swallow the whole pattern. Redirect once and then draw the line. Now let's put the whole thing together. Let's say that a customer says something like, you people are useless. I was told I could get a refund and now you're changing the whole story. What kind of BS is this? A weak response sounds like this. I'm sorry, but that's our policy. That is accurate, but it's like throwing gasoline on the fire. So what's a stronger response? It may be something that sounds like this. I can hear how frustrated you are about the refund. Let's look at what was documented and what options are available to you right now. If they say, don't give me that, you're trying to cheat me. You say, I'm going to stay with the refund issue. Here's what I can look into right now. look at you doing that boundary setting. But if they keep attacking, I can keep working on the refund issue. I won't continue if insults continue. And notice what you're doing. You're keeping the path open. What's it open for? Your path is open for resolution, but you're not letting them run the room. That's a skill set. And leaders, do not tell employees to use their judgment if you haven't given them information on what the boundaries actually are. You need to fortify them with understanding certain things. Fortify your employees by letting them know when they can warn a customer, when they can transfer a call, when they can end the conversation with, your backing. You don't want them to be uncomfortable to take care of themselves, when they should get a manager, what language should they use? Do you have specific language that is effective so they're not having to make it up on the fly? What is effective language for these situations? What behaviors cross the line? Because when the standards are vague, employees either tolerate too much or escalate too quickly. Neither one of those creates a better customer experience. A good standard protects the employee, the customer, and the organization. So make sure those standards are clear and spelled out. So the next time customers cross the line, remember this. Match the urgency, return to the facts, set the boundary. And ask, what does this moment need from me? It's a wonderful question to ask in the moment of any turmoil. What does this moment need from me? Because then it gives you a moment to pause and think. Sometimes what you need is empathy. Sometimes you need to focus on the facts. Sometimes you need to set a clear boundary. And sometimes in the same conversation, you need all three. If this video has been useful to you, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.